Question: who do you envision when you picture who your primary customers will be over the next 10 to 20 years or more? If your future customer is still getting a printed newspaper delivered to their home, if you offer them the chance to pay using Venmo and they look at you like you're an alien, or if you tout your Amazon Prime Day sale and they think Prime is just a cut of rib, if this is the future customer your business model is designed to attract, then, well, we may need to talk. Of course, depending on your business, there's one group you definitely need to be prepared for, and soon. Millennials. Many millennials are now well into their 30s, and that means they've finished college and are settling into their careers and starting families, which has them poised to become one of the largest purchasing groups in the country, if not the world. This is not to discount your boomer customers, or your Generation Xers, or those customers from earlier decades. Your business needs to take them into account as well. But it's important that we realize in which direction the wind is blowing. In this episode, we'll explore some areas of your business where you can adapt and focus on to better attract millennials and keep your company relevant. Hi, I'm John Marble, and this is Build Your Difference.
This is Build Your Difference, a podcast created by Blue Artists, a brand platform with one goal: to help great visionaries like you build impressive brands. Every month, we'll bring you insightful tips, knowledge, and compelling stories from successful entrepreneurs and the Blue Artists team on how to create and to market a winning brand that does more than just launch a new product or service. It starts an ongoing conversation. Because you're not just making a brand, you're making a difference. Let's start building.
A core part of branding is all about connecting with your audience. Companies are increasingly looking for ways to develop a more personal connection with their consumers by focusing on these 5 emerging trends: illustration, minimalism, millennial influence, creativity in online domain names, and becoming more personal, less corporate. Illustration. Few things can speak to us on such an emotional human level quite like art. Art allows us to see ourselves and our experiences represented, making us feel that we are a part of something, a shared experience or moment. Businesses and their brands are constantly looking for ways to connect with their audience. So it should come as no surprise that many companies are turning to the power of illustration to achieve this. From Facebook to Google to even Airbnb. Not to mention those animated marketing videos we see all over YouTube. Illustrations as a tool of engagement are popping up everywhere. And unlike illustrations used in branding of the past, where a white audience was often the only customer represented, these days, companies like Airbnb are making a concentrated effort to represent everyone in their illustrations. And how are they doing this? Well, in the case of Airbnb, they're basing their illustrations on real photos of real Airbnb customers from all around the world. Minimalism. There's an old saying, less is more. And it would seem that if you were to pose this question to a millennial, they would respond with a resounding yes. And is it really all that surprising when we consider all the programs devoted to downsizing into tiny houses or extensive decluttering of homes? Such as the Marie Kondo Netflix show and her hit book Tidying Up. From massive student loan debt and the chaos of having to manage 2 or 3 jobs just to get by, millennials aren't interested in adding to the clutter of their lives. They want things clear and straightforward when it comes to how businesses and their brands communicate with them. It's branding where text is quick and to the point. Imagery is clean and focused on exactly what the company wants the viewer to see. There's no guesswork needed on the part of the consumer anymore. Megan Tilley, from the article Minimalism as Branding, How Less Can Be More, over at copypress.com, provides the following example. If you're selling candles, a picture of a room filled with furniture with one of your candles on the table isn't as direct as a shot of the candle itself. This all makes me think about that new ad Apple has out touting their Face ID technology. You've probably seen it. It's the one where there's a man lounging in his backyard on a nice summer day. His phone pings him that he's got a message or some kind of alert, and without a word, he raises his chair up, looks at his phone, Face ID opens it, he reads the message, he lays back down. Simple, straightforward. No words are exchanged, nothing is said, but in that simple, clear-cut, straightforward action, we know exactly what the company is trying to communicate to us. Millennial influence and becoming more personal, less corporate. A lot can change between generations, from cultural perspectives to purchasing habits. Perhaps the biggest change in terms of marketing and branding over this last generation or two, beginning with the millennials and continuing through Generation Z, is this growing preference for business that personalizes their brand. The younger generations aren't interested in supporting faceless corporations that have been a staple for consumers for decades. No, they want to support something, or better yet, someone they know and can trust. In a lot of new businesses, the person is the business. To give you a simple example here, it's not the shoe emporium anymore that millennials want to give their business to. It's Todd's Footwear. See, here they have an actual person they can relate to, support, and connect with, as well as bond and connect with the whole Todd's Footwear community. It's much easier to build trust with a person than a company. Gone are the days when consumers would be willing to overlook a company's questionable practices or immoral behavior. Where once the pervading attitude might have been, hey, I don't agree with their treatment of the rainforests, but I sure do love those shirts they make, has shifted to a line in the sand that has consumers boycotting companies whose products and practices do not align with their own morals and political ideologies. In many ways, in an effort to establish and maintain brand loyalty, companies themselves are having to take sides on issues. Take the growing trend towards a more healthy diet we're seeing lately, that has everything from soda companies to fast food scrambling to shore up lost profits by implementing healthier options. Mini Cokes, anyone? How about those McDonald's salads? Unheard of when I was a kid. Or take a company like Caribou Coffee, which recently transitioned to all-natural ingredients for their signature coffees. A move that's sure to win over coffee lovers who abhor all those questionable ingredients in their food and drink. But this move was not without its setbacks. For in doing so, and to maintain this image of a clean coffee, they had to stop serving certain items and flavors, popular with many of their customers. Did this decision result in the loss of once loyal customers? Perhaps. But it's clear Caribou felt that the gains from this branding move would be far greater. Creativity and online domain names. If you've ever been in a position of having to develop a website for your business, no doubt you've run into this problem. After trying to think of every conceivable domain name for your site that you can think of, you finally land on the perfect name, only to discover another company has already beat you to the punch, meaning you have to go back to the drawing board, where hopefully you've got a few backup options from that long list you came up with. As frustrating as this may be, choosing the right domain name can be crucial to your business's success. It is, after all, how your business is found online. Conventional thinking in years past has been that your domain name should be an exact match of your business name. So if you're a business like, say, Ruby Receptionist, then your domain name ought to be www.rubyreceptionist.com. And why not? Makes perfect sense. But like in actual real estate, where not everyone can live in the same house, not everyone can have the same domain name. And sometimes someone else will beat us to the punch and lay claim to that online real estate first. So we have to get creative, as Ruby did with her domain name. Callruby.com. Essentially, millennials are asking businesses to cut the BS and get to the point. Be real, be honest, stand for something. Even if some members of your audience disagree with that stance, at least you're showing them where you stand. Remember, you can't please everyone. Don't paint yourself as made out of gold when you're really just painted bronze. At some point, that gold-colored paint will rust off. I'm reminded of a scene in the Will Ferrell holiday comedy Elf, where he plays Buddy, a human raised by elves who travels to New York City in search of his birth parents. There, he's mesmerized and awestruck by all the flashing neon lights and the quirky characters roaming the streets, and the layer of vibrant sounds of the city. He happens upon a hole-in-the-wall coffeehouse diner, with a neon sign that reads, "World's Best Cup of Coffee."
You did it! Congratulations! World's best cup of coffee. Great job, everybody!
Now, in my experience, if it has to say it's the world's best, it's usually far from it. But for Buddy, this is all the proof he needs. He accepts their assertion of being the world's best coffee at face value. But this wouldn't fly over with millennials these days. Just one bad experience from a customer, and social media would be flooded with comments exposing the subquality of the product. Exposing those claims of world's best as, among other things, disingenuous. So, if your business is going to make such wild claims, you better be able to back it up. Because sure enough, your audience will be ready to pounce, or worse, abandon you and your product once they uncover the disappointing truth behind the curtain. So if you're developing a business, or if you're looking for ways to grow and sustain your business, think about how you're applying these 5 trends. How are you incorporating illustration to facilitate engagement? What are you doing to declutter your content? What have you done to personalize your business and take into account Millennial Influence? And finally, what does your domain name say about you and your business? Because it's not enough to be the business of today. You need to think about tomorrow, too. I'm John Marble, and this has been Build Your Difference.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Build Your Difference. If you'd like to learn more about how Blue Artists can help you develop a distinguished brand that inspires and engages a growing audience, then please visit us at www.blue-artist.com and be sure and subscribe to our monthly podcast for the latest tips and trends in brand development and marketing. And remember, you're not just making a brand, you're making a difference. Start building yours today.